What's up, everybody? It is Friday, February 7th. Let's see.
Out on the court for a game of 2-on-2. Me and Mike versus James and his boy Big Blue. We headed off to Kevin's house right after school, cause he got that new Lifetime basketball hoop. We came ready to play. We came ready to win and bring the trophy home that day. Big Blue said, you ain't bringing home that W. How you gonna score when I'm standing here in front of you? I grabbed the ball and I passed it into Mike. Mike caught the pass, fake left and went right. He drove through the lane and he threw it off the glass. I couldn't believe my eyes, he was running so fast. Caught the pass in mid-air, then he threw that boy down. Nobody could believe it, James fell over on the ground. He started crying, put his hands on his head. Then Big Blue looked at me and Mike and he said, why is James crying? Cause he just got dunked on. I ain't even lying, yo, he just got dunked on. Yeah, he was standing in the way, so I jumped up in the air and I'm just letting him explain. Why James crying? Cause he just got dunked on. I ain't even lying, yo, he just got dunked on. Yeah, he was standing in the way, so I jumped up in the air and I'm just letting him explain. James is mad, I could see it in his eyes.
Oh, man. Thanks to Blue Stem for giving us that lovely video for today. Because before that, it was going to be Love Me Sexy by Jackie Moon, because that's what Mike wanted on the show. Anyways, sorry, Dave had to get a haircut, and I thought we were streaming, and we weren't streaming. So Mike and Dave, all those inappropriate comments that we were saying, they never made it to the air.
Oh,
so, such is life. But this is the Friday Fantasy Insiders TV, sponsored by DraftDay. Sorry, I'm getting distracted. Sponsored by DraftDay. Got a fun show today. Today is also the Hardwood bracket contest, or the Hardwood Classic. It's not a bracket, but we do have a bracket contest. It's a 32-man contest, and it's $5. Winner gets a T-shirt. Plus, if you enter at the end of the show, we're going to make a drawing, and one of the people that enter will get a free Hardwood Classic ticket to the
sweet.
The $25,000 Hardwood Classic tonight on Draft Day. I want to introduce our guest, though. A guy who has the freshest haircut in daily fantasy, Dave Loughran. You might know him as Laffy D. Writes the Insiders column on fantasyinsiders.com. And then Mike Leonum. Oh, wait. Mike Leone. But you might know him as Leonum4444. And, yes, I thought we were streaming earlier. We weren't. So, basically, if you missed it, I lost on the DFS Elite game yesterday with these two clowns. And so I will be having to purchase the bunny suit to the bet that I already lost a few weeks ago to Dave. So like I said on Twitter, the bunny suit is on me. And soon...
Why don't you share intentions following the show, Dave?
What's that?
Why don't you show what you intend? Why don't you tell them what you intend on doing after the show?
Okay, well, I don't think it's any of their business, but I just...
Oh, you were all about it earlier.
I'm not all about the bunny suit. My wife is all about the bunny suit. She's always... I told her, I was like, honey, we finally have a reason now to get the bunny suit. So make sure you're not doing anything next Friday. It is Valentine's Day. So, I mean, hello. We probably won't have a show next Friday, so it'll have to be the 21st. Can you guys wait that long?
Why won't we have a show, Dave?
It's the NBA All-Star Weekend. There's no games on Friday.
So?
Yeah.
We can break down the DFS All-Star events.
Yes, like that has stopped us before with as far as not talking basketball. But yeah. I'm wondering if the 21st would also be the 6-week mark. Anyways, I digress. Let's talk about the daily fantasy slate of games. Tonight you have the Lakers and Philly, and that's pretty much the game that everyone's targeting. There is no Milwaukee game, so we can't talk about that too much. But we can talk about this Lakers and Sixers game. Basically, you wrote about Thad Young today on the site, Dave. He was the cover boy. And on the opposite side, you also have the Lakers, who are just very much injury prone. I mean, they're worse than the Spurs. And so the big deal is going to be this Steve Blake game time decision. And Dave, I'll let you kind of just break down the Lakers' point of view from this game tonight.
Yeah, that injury concerns me a lot, only because not that I know much about it. What is it, like a bruised thigh, I think? But I really wanted to play Blake tonight everywhere. Got more three-pointers, to opposition than any, but more importantly, they give up more three-pointers to shooting guards than any other team, at almost 3 per game. And Blake's firing off 5 of his 8 shots per game, and I would expect him to take more tonight if he plays from behind the arc. So I'd really like to see him play. He's going to drain 4 or 5 threes tonight if he play, and gain at least 8 assists and a handful of rebounds. I really think 30 plus fantasy points. I think 30 fantasy points would be his floor tonight against Philadelphia. They're 1 and 2 in pace. They're both 1 and 2 in points allowed. They're 29th and 30th in fantasy points allowed in literally every position except small forward, where the Lakers are 28th. So there's just so much that's conducive from a fantasy sense in this game, and I hope he plays. But other guys, Ryan Kelly's a guy I'd be interested in looking at, even though Jordan Hill is back. And Wesley Johnson, another guy. This guy's playing big minutes recently. He's taken a lot of shots, and he's been relatively consistent despite a small sample size. So those are the 3 guys that I'm mostly focused on tonight if Blake played.
What about you, Mike? You got the Lakers purple going on.
It's lavender.
Well, it's debatable, I guess. I guess in this light, it looks like the Lakers purple.
Yeah, I hope Blake plays as well. I'm all about him pretty much everywhere. If he doesn't, I think you got to give a strong look at Kendall Marshall. He'll have to play a ton of minutes for the same reasons you like Blake, you like Marshall, maybe. I mean, what's he average? He's averaging on DS like 24 fantasy points a game, and that's including some games where he didn't even play a lot. And he's priced at $11K, so you almost have to play him there if Blake's out. If you take a look at this depth chart, it's just nobody there. Farmar's out. We already talked about Meeks is out. Nick Young is out. So at the guard positions and small forward, you have practically nobody. You almost have to play Wes Johnson. He's been really aggressive lately. That's one of the reasons why in the past we've been afraid to use him even when he's getting minutes, because he hasn't been aggressive, but he's taking a lot of shots. And then on the other side of the ball with Philly, the other thing with these teams, not only do they play at a fast pace, which leads to more points, more rebounds, more assists, but they're both turnover prone. They both get their shots blocked. I was talking about this with Sullinger when he played Philly the other night. He's the guy who doesn't get defensive stats, and he walks into, I don't know what it was, like 3 blocks and a steal. That's 8 more fantasy points than you're used to getting. That's a huge difference.
Yeah, I think that I think that the 2 guys that are going to get probably the most minutes, if Steve Blake plays, I expect him to get a ton of minutes, 35 plus minutes, and then you have Wesley Johnson and Ryan Kelly.
Nash is still on a minutes limit, right?
What's that?
Nash is still on a minutes limit?
He is. Did you read somewhere that the reason why I think Nash played more minutes than they thought he might is because...
Farmar. Are you talking the Wesley Johnson thing?
Yes, Farmar.
Yeah.
Because Wesley Johnson had to use the restroom during the game.
Yeah, he turned D'Antoni turned to sub Johnson in, and he was in the bathroom.
Huh.
That's bad.
They actually ran out of players. I mean, they ran out of players, Dave. They're so limited that they did not have enough players to put on the court. So
Yeah.
I think that anybody that plays tonight has an opportunity to produce pretty nicely, especially because they're not very expensive. It's like we got it's not like we got a team playing against Philadelphia, like, where everybody's priced so high. These guys are cheap. Wesley Johnson, 51 on DraftKings. Blake, 48. Kelly, 4,300. They're cheap. The most expensive guy on the Lakers is going to run you what, 10, 11%, if that.
Yeah, it's a perfect storm of price, opportunity, and matchup. I'm just looking here. I mean, who are even the healthy guards? You've got Nash, who probably won't play more than 25 minutes. And then who do you have? You got Marshall and Blake if he plays.
Because Farmar's out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Wesley Johnson might have to play the 2.
Yeah, so even though Sean Williams is back, I mean, that's probably not going to mess up Wesley Johnson at all because he's going to have to play some at the 2.
It's actually Shawnee
to...
Williams, Mike. Shawnee Williams.
I hate you.
You never can pronounce things the right way. As far as Thad Young, though, his price is pretty sexy across the industry for what he is capable of doing against this Lakers team. So I definitely think that he might be the guy. I just saw on Twitter where Renee Miller is hollering at Mike Gallagher. They might have like a DFS match made in heaven there, or a fantasy match made in heaven. Talking about screen sizes and everything else. Anyways.
Yeah, the Sixers side is looking pretty good too. I mean, Thaddeus Young, like you said, the Lakers can't rebound. No one can guard power forwards. He should have a huge game. And then Evan Turner's price is way down, even though he's a bit volatile. Michael Carter-Williams has been slumping, but the price kind of reflects that.
Yeah.
This is just, I mean, I think you need at least 5 guys in this game on most sites. Depending on the site, like Draft Street's a little different, but even there, I mean, Hawes's price is down. It's not just the matchups; it's the prices too. It's aligning perfectly.
Mike, I could put 7 out of 8 guys on DraftKings from this game and feel great about it, but in my head, I'm telling myself you can't do that. It goes against everything. It's like stacking Thursday night football game. But yeah, it's hard not to, because you look at it. The Lakers are 3rd in the league in three-pointers made. Philadelphia's last in three-pointers allowed. Just every single stat you look at, it benefits. It's hard not to like every single player from this game, even on the bench for cheap. Go ahead.
It's only a 4-point spread, so you're talking a really high-scoring game, 219 total, and it's supposed to be somewhat competitive, even with the Lakers. I mean, you never know what'll happen if they get super thin with foul trouble again. It could end up being a blowout, but it's supposed to be a competitive game, so there's just a ton of upside there. I wouldn't even call you crazy if you played 7 guys from that game in one lineup.
I had Carmelo Anthony and then 7 Philly and Lakers guys. I love Melo tonight, man.
I'm Melo. With you. It's stack the Lakers, Philly, and then play Melo.
All right, guys. Good show.
Peace.
It is the highest over/under by far. Like you said, there's just so many plays here. Even like Sacre and Kaman. I'm looking on DraftDay. Sacre, Kaman, Kelly, Wes Johnson. Those 4, and then the thing with these players, like if you play 6 or 7 or even 8, like you might have to spend somewhere. So you might have either leave a big space of the cap or hope that you can get lucky with like some Love, Kevin Love, that is. And then also, like, there's some other news. So besides Carmelo bobblehead night / revenge factor game, you got the double dose there. You also have Avery Bradley, who is 50-50, I think they said. Was what Brad Stevens said earlier. And Rondo is going to be out. So if those two are out, then you've got the whole Pressey / Bayless situation. Let's just assume that, Mike, you take the case that Pressey, Bayless, and Bradley all play, and then Dave, you take where just Bayless and Pressey play. So, Mike, given that situation, what would you do?
I mean, I don't even care because I think this is going to be a trap with the value in the Lakers-Sixers game. Why would you touch these guards when you, especially if you're saying Bradley's in? I don't see why you would touch any of the three of them when you can play a lot more upside elsewhere.
Okay. So basically you're saying let's not even talk about anything else because of the Lakers and Sixers.
No, I'm not saying that, but I think for your cheaper value plays, I don't see any reason taking a risk on a guy like Pressey who started against the Sixers and put up 5 fantasy points. I mean, why would you risk that on a night like tonight?
He still put up some. He had one good game. He had one good game.
No, he can have a good game. I'm not saying it's a terrible play, but it's a low floor. He could play 35 minutes and still have a low floor. I mean,
Pressey before that good game, had a combined 10 points in 4 games before that. 10.
Let's see.
I guess on Draft Street you might have to give it a look at 3K, but
yeah, on Draft Street for sure. Against Washington, played 35 minutes, had 35 fantasy points on Draft Day. Oklahoma City, the next game, had 30 minutes and 25 points. Against Philly, that's what you're talking about. He only played 21 minutes and had 6.25. So,
and he started that game, and I think Bradley and Rondo were both out.
No,
Bradley was there.
Yeah,
Bradley was there that game. Are you sure?
I don't think he was.
I don't think Bradley or Rondo were there, and
I think Mike's right.
Oh no, that's right. Bayless was the guy who was out the game before when he had.
And when Bayless came back, and then they had Chris Johnson too, who I think was playing the 2 at times, and or no, they moved Jeff Green to the 2 and put Chris Johnson at the 3. So then basically, Chris Johnson coming off the bench playing like 20 minutes was going to take away from other guards because it moved Jeff Green down there. So I think it's just going to move it's going to shift everybody, even if they don't play.
Chat is killing me. They're talking about Lala saying that Melo will get some extra loving if he scores 60 tonight. Dink says extra Honey Nut Cheerios. Obviously, the Carmelo joke. We had a question. Think Kendall Marshall will get 30 or 35 minutes tonight? Not unless Blake is out. If Blake is out, yes, he definitely will.
Blake is out, he might play
40. 42.
Yeah, I mean, 40 might be the floor for him on minutes if Blake's out.
Nash's ass should be coming off the bench. Even if he is. I mean, Marshall.
You think they'll stick to Nash's minutes limit?
Yes.
If Blake's out?
Yes.
No, I'm just speaking in general. I mean, Marshall really wasn't playing that bad before he got yanked and put, before those guys came back. I'm looking at it strictly from a fantasy perspective, of course, and I believe everybody else should do the same. But I don't know. He could play big minutes. He isn't as good on the road, but I think that's a non-factor considering he's playing Philly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think if Blake's out, Marshall's almost a must-play. His price isn't as fun as Blake's is, but it still shouldn't be an issue anywhere.
But I think Dave has a point. Pressey, did you say he's $3,000 on Draft Street?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
See, he's still 42 on DraftKings. His price is yet to go down on a couple sites. But at that cheap on a site like Draft Street, where you rarely find a starter at that cheap, hardly ever, unless it's a scenario like this where there's some late injuries, I think he's definitely someone you have to look at. He's $5,000 on DraftKings. He's minimum salary. But then you look at it, and Ryan Kelly's $5,900, and Wesley Johnson $76. So I don't necessarily see the need to have to play him.
Exactly.
So, Mike, yeah, I think so. Unless it's Draft Street, $3,000 is really cheap when players can go up to, when they can max out at $24,000.
As far as other news, Reddick is probably not going to play, meaning more minutes for Crawford, and also Blake Griffin. Man, he's a guy that I've been targeting. After watching him play Wednesday, and just I don't know how you can fade him. Like his game logs recently are equal to like some of the other higher priced players.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say that I'd rather have Blake over Melo, but
I want both.
I'd probably rather have Blake over Melo tonight.
Yeah, on draft, yeah, he's 15-8, and Melo's 17-3. I mean, 15-8 is really cheap on draft day compared to what else we got out there. With John Wall at 16-1, Anthony Davis is 18. DeMarcus Cousins is more expensive than Griffin by $2,000. LaMarcus Aldridge is the same price, and he's not been playing so well lately. I think Blake Griffin on draft day, it's almost impossible to fade him. And those guys, they totaled 244 points in regulation last time they played.
Yeah,
it's a lot of points.
It is. It is a lot of points. As far as other news, Kevin Garnett not going to be playing tonight, getting a day off of rest. Someone asked about Williams, and he went to it looked like he just banged his knee right before halftime.
Sissy.
What's that?
What a sissy, man.
Yeah, seriously, what a sissy. But he did come back and had a nice second half. So I haven't seen anything about him being out tonight, so I'm assuming he's playing. And Lance Stevenson not playing tonight. Also, Mo Williams not going to be playing tonight. He has a death in the family. So you've got this people talking about Paul George scenario.
Okay.
What'd you say, Dave?
I like him a lot.
You like him a lot.
I like him a lot.
So without Stevenson, Granger is starting, but I think definitely if you're going to play someone, Paul George is the guy. You like him, Mike? Can you give the heads up? Or it's sunny there and now in Buffalo. The sun just came in.
Up?
It's just the snow. A little bit of reflection off the snow makes it look sunnier.
Oh, okay. Well, thoughts on Paul George tonight?
What is that that's reflecting off the snow, Mike?
Well, there's a little bit of sun, a lot of reflection.
It looks like a lot of volatile light going on.
What?
Go ahead.
All right. I'm ignoring you, and I'm going on to Paul George. No, Dink wrote about him in today's rundown on our site. And just saying his usage rate has been pretty high, even with Stevenson around. He just hasn't been shooting the ball very well. Then you couple that with the fact that Stevenson's out and that usage rate's probably going to be even higher. I think I saw a number like 34% usage rate when Stevenson's not on the floor and George is. And then his price has come down on top of that on a lot of sites. Like Draft Street, he's 13-something and change. I think he's almost a must-play on a site like Draft Street. On FanDuel, you've got some other small forward options. You got Turner pretty cheap and Wes Johnson pretty cheap. I don't think you have to play him there, but I definitely like him on Draft Street. What's his price on Draft Day?
He's cheap. He's 13.6. That's really not much at all. You're looking at just comparatively, DeMar DeRozan is the same price. Rudy Gay. Irving is more. Kyrie is more than expensive than him, even though he might not play. Kyrie Irving's another guy, Dave, that I really didn't like him at all, and I'm always real hesitant to play him. But he's played really well against Washington, and I have a feeling that it has something to do with going against another first overall point guard in John Wall, 1 year separated. He's played really well. He put 41 points up against him and then 28 points, real points, against him this season. You look back to his game logs, he's really played well against them, home and on the road.
Let me just pause. Do you know that he is game time decision tonight?
That's what I said. Yeah, I said he might not play.
Okay.
But I considered actually taking him on sites where his price has been depressed from a couple of poor performances.
It's not really depressed though. I mean, his salary hasn't.
Couple of them.
Well, where are you seeing this? I mean, yeah, it's nice to play him in that shooting guard spot, but he's had a lot of good matchups, and there just appears like Dan Bach today said something about wanting to play him, and but the game time decision kind of taken away. And I told him, like, I was on team fade Kyrie tonight. Like, I was hoping that people might take him because I wasn't going to be on that. They're just a mess. There's a blowout factor, and there's just Kyrie is not the point guard that he was last year. He's playing too much off the ball. Even if Mike Brown got a chewing out, like, it would be really hard for me to spin on Kyrie, where his salary just hasn't really done anything.
No, you're right, and it isn't coming down enough. But I like John Wall a lot more on the other end. But I guess I was looking more towards in that DraftKings Showcase qualifier, a couple of those contrarian picks, and he's a guy with upside that I considered putting in. I have a bunch of lineups, a bunch of entries, so he's somebody that would have slipped in a couple lineups, but not something I'd be playing in cash games or really, putting a lot of money on.
You might have to, if you take a lot of Lakers and Sixers, you might have to spin on the guards because it's saying that most of the Lakers are kind of in that in the small forward, power forward. What's that?
Wouldn't you spend on the forwards?
It depends. Well, it depends. I mean,
I think you've got more depth at the forward center spot with Hill.
It's so deep.
With Hill, Williams, Sacre, and Kaman. Wouldn't you want to spend there and then take your cheap guys at like Blake and Wes Johnson?
Yeah, I mean, Wes Johnson's small forward eligible, though.
And then you've got MCW, too. His price is down.
Yeah.
Power forward is so... Yeah. You look at power forward, Durant, Love, even if he doesn't play, just hypothetically speaking, who's available, Durant, Love, Anthony, Griffin, Anthony Davis, Aldridge, Nowitzki. Like, there are so many available plays at center and power forward tonight. It's insane. And Cousins on DraftKings is 9,200. I'm having trouble not playing him against Boston. He's a 50 fantasy point guy on that site every single time he plays. It's insane.
Yeah, you gotta play Cousins on DraftKings, I think. Definitely.
Let's talk about, like, on DraftDay, where you've got Sacre at 6,300, Kelly at 5,900. You have to play Kelly at 5,900, and he's only rostered at the power forward position.
Yeah.
And then you have Sacre, who is a center. Like, you have to roster him at the center position. And then Wes Johnson, who you can use at shooting guard. You're the one who talking about you wanted to play everybody from this game. I tried getting other analysis.
You're playing the wrong everybody's.
I'm saying if you do roster like the highest value guys, then you're going to have to spend on the point guard. If you don't go with
no, we're on similar. I didn't mean to disagree so adamantly. We're on similar
No, you
wavelengths.
can. You can disagree so adamantly. It's okay. Don't apologize.
We're on similar wavelengths. I just think I'm spending on power forward, not center. I think conceptually it's the same. Go cheap in the Lakers-Philly game and then spend on some studs. I just like my studs in different places.
That's what I've heard. Mike likes his studs at different places.
Spencer Hawes, 10.7 on power forward and center eligible on draft day. I like Hawes tonight.
You do like Hawes.
Yes, Dave.
At 10.7, I think I like him too.
Yeah, why I don't think Sacre is a must play. You think he's a must play?
Did I say a must play?
You can only roster him at center. He wasn't saying that you got to play him. He was saying that if you're gonna play him, he's only eligible at center.
See, I think there was.
If I said a must play, I apologize because that's certainly like I don't think he's a must play. But what I'm saying is like on draft day,
play him, he has to take that spot.
Right. Those are the highest value guys. I mean,
okay.
The other guys, their prices are higher than Sacre and Wes Johnson and Kelly, and so you would have to go cheaper. That's what I'm saying is that if you want to roster those guys, Like Kelly immediately takes up a power forward spot. Sacre would immediately take up that center spot. So that is what I'm saying. Some other news: Kevin Love said he went through shoot around, said he's going to play. So he's still a little stiff and sore. Love versus Anthony Davis tonight. Thoughts on this, Dave?
Yeah, well, I don't know about you or where you've looked, but I'm pretty sure that Davis is considered cheaper than Love almost everywhere. So I like Anthony Davis at home. He hasn't been fantastic against Minnesota. I think he actually sat out last game. He was a late scratch. But I would take Davis at home over Love, who's really not at full strength right now. And Davis, we've talked about it several times before. The blocks at home are insane. He can give you 8 blocks at home. That's 16 points on blocks alone. He got 20 rebound potential, just like Love. He's not going to gather as many of them, but he's going to put up more peripheral stats. He's going to give you more steals, more blocks, and I think he can put up similar, if not better, production tonight, especially when things are contingent on Love's health.
Mike?
Yeah, I mean, I think Davis is the better value too. Love's not 100%. He's pretty expensive. I'd rather pay cheaper for Davis or Carmelo or Blake.
I'm going Melo tonight, man. It's going to be hard. I really like him.
Well,
yeah, I've got the Melo Denver jersey on.
And I mean it to be hard.
Yeah, I mean, Denver gives up the most points to power forwards, most rebounds. Are they going?
Second most points, third most fantasy points.
Yeah, they're going with their small lineup, right? I mean, he's playing the 4.
You would think so. He did last game. I think they had Shumpert. Who they had? Shumpert was Prigioni out there, and Felton, and then they had Chandler at the 5. I think.
Yeah, I really like Carmelo. I mean, again, on the efficiency sites, there's always concern that he'll miss 15 shots, but I think he should rebound really well in this game. That should negate some of that risk.
Yeah, look what Griffin did to Denver a couple games ago. Huge game, and I like the fact that this is going to be a high-scoring game.
Fifey says 6 members of the LA-Philadelphia game, and then Brow, Melo, and George. It sounds like that's what people are high on tonight. As far as
you don't sound convinced.
What's that?
You don't sound convinced.
Well, it just depends. Like for cash games, I would say yes. For these tournaments and qualifiers that are going on tonight, I am not convinced that it's like the best strategy. I definitely think like at least 4 or 5, but like you have to think that these guys are all going to be like heavily owned. And
so let me ask you this.
Yes, go ahead.
Let me ask you a serious question, because I'm having trouble finding other plays that I like tonight. So outside of these games, who are some players that mid-range players? Not top tier, high end elites, but mid-range players. Who do you see that you're really high on tonight? If you were thinking about fading a couple guys from the Philly LA game and rolling with something else.
This Utah game looks interesting. I mean, I know it's a 9.5 point spread as far as the game's going to be in Dallas, but you have Gordon Hayward. I mean, this is going to be a fast-paced game, and if they can hang around, you got Favors coming back tonight. His price is not where it was. He's going to, from everything I've read, there's not going to be any sort of limit on him tonight. So I think Favors has a decent matchup, and he's kind of in that mid-price range. As is like Gordon Hayward. I mean, or Trey Burke. Like those 3 guys, I know it's a little bit because of their recent play and Favors' injury, but I think those 3 guys are certainly interesting. We talked about Jamal Crawford there. If Redick does not play, and Drummond against the Pistons is another guy. Unfortunately, his price is a little high, but those are some of the guys I'm looking at. I think there are plenty of of plays if you want to go. I just think that like you have to kind of go outside the box if you want to win a tournament or qualifier tonight a little bit.
Yeah, and that could be the case. The fact that the Sixers and Lakers are 1 and 2 in pace respectively says so much, because you know that even if a guy doesn't get a lot of points, he can still exceed value by plenty on rebounds alone and blocks alone. You look at Sullinger, puts up 50 fantasy points the other night. He scored 11 points. Rondo, even though he's different, but he put up 8 points. And then he had, I think, 9 rebounds and 11 assists. So with the pace, they don't even need to score as many points, because the ball is going to be hoisted up so much. It's going to be going back and forth so much. There are going to be stats all over the place. Granted, there'll be some turnovers, but a steal's worth 1 more point than a turnover. And I just think the pace and the points allowed and everything in this game points towards fantasy glory and heaven and gold and beautifulness.
What about Isaiah Thomas and DeMarcus Cousins?
I love Cousins.
Yeah, Cousins, his per minute production is just so elite that, everyone's always raising into foul trouble or something, but I've seen him play 28 minutes and put up 40 fantasy point games. Yeah. And if he plays the full complement of minutes, he's got such a high ceiling. And then his price actually on FanDuel and DraftKings, he's priced pretty much right at value. I mean, he just needs an average game. It's not like you need him to exceed his averages, which most guys are priced in a way where you need them to exceed average games. He just needs an average game, and you're fine as long as you got, exceed value elsewhere.
Now, with Isaiah Thomas, on the other hand, I'd rather go Carter Williams if we're talking similar price range, even if Rondo is out. Bradley, I guess Rondo is out already. But if I'm gonna spend near something like that at point guard, I'd rather go John Wall. I love John Wall tonight. He's one of my favorite plays. I just wish he wasn't so expensive everywhere. But this guy's averaging 55 fantasy points at home over his last 4 games. He's been killing it. And he produces everywhere. Steals, assists, rebounds, points.
Definitely. I guess the biggest concern is the blowout in this one. Just that Cleveland situation being a complete mess. Someone asked earlier about Jarrett Jack if Kyrie Irving wasn't playing. Sure, I think he would be a good play if Kyrie wasn't playing. Everybody was kind of on the Jarrett Jack train on Wednesday, and it got derailed fast.
I was president of that train.
Yeah, I was nowhere near that
conductor.
Train. I skipped that train.
If he played the minutes he was supposed to, it would have been fine. I'm still bitter.
Drew said that Cousins is not happy with the Brow, his Kentucky fellow one-year alum, getting the All-Star nod over him. So he's going to be playing with a vengeance tonight.
He did tweet something.
Yeah. And on Wednesday had it was a good first half. He just got a little bit of foul trouble. But he wasn't bad on Wednesday. A lot of centers just were great on Wednesday. It was really hard.
When we're talking risk, though, Andre Drummond, relative to price, he's more of a risk than Cousins anymore. People say they're so worried about him getting kicked out of a game. They're so worried about the foul trouble. Look, foul trouble is going to happen to anyone once in a while. And I guess he's slightly above average when it comes to really getting his production really being hindered by foul trouble this year. And it's not like the ejections are coming left and right like we've seen in the past. Now it's going to happen tonight, I'm sure. But he's not nearly as risky as he was before. And I don't think the same status should be attached to him anymore. Stigma, that's the word I was looking for.
There you go. Nice word. Al said that Ding was the problem. He was the problem, and that Jack was fine on FanDuel because he only missed value by 4 points. I don't think he was fine on FanDuel. Here's my reasoning, and Al, you might disagree with me. We might agree to disagree. But my reasoning is this: Wednesday was such a high-scoring night across the industry.
Right, value goes up by 6 on every player.
Yeah, because all the scores were just tremendously high. So if you missed on one guy, it really kind of set you back. And if you missed really bad, like Dang was the guy that you just couldn't roster and have a decent team. And so if you didn't have him, then you were going to have a good team. So that's kind of how I feel. I mean, we have the value threshold, and of course we had the value tool on Fantasy Insiders, but there are certain nights where just everyone just kind of goes nuts. And
Dave, the scores were so high on DraftKings. I had 313. 125 people placed in that Showtime. I got 90th at 313. Any other night, that's top 20, if not best, or at least close, where the winner would have 370 something. 370 on DraftKings where you roster 8 guys. I know it's a higher scoring site, but still, that's an outrageous score.
Yeah, I mean, I got knocked out of double ups with 300.
Did you really?
Yeah, I failed to cash the majority of my double ups.
I
might have
Mike,
cashed one or.
And
Mike, do you want me to call Wine11 to get you a Wambulance?
I think the man's being pretty honest right now about being knocked out of games. You're sitting there.
I was helping you make your point.
God.
Man.
Can't wait to see your ass in a bunny suit, dude.
I had Jack.
You and my wife both. Let's see.
Hopefully at different times.
I think Jack, I don't know, I might be out on a limb, but I think he is an interesting play even if Kyrie goes on FanDuel, where he's 3,700.
It's trash.
If
I'm just joking. I haven't really looked too much into it. He might be all right if he's really cheap. What's he on FanDuel?
He's 3,700.
Oh yeah, that's way
I
different.
mean, you're taking a leap of faith that the minutes are back where they were the previous 2 games before Mike Brown went nuts. But,
right. And Miles is losing big minutes too, isn't he? I mean, he's not really playing good minutes. So.
No, he's not, and neither is Waiters. Is kind of in the doghouse as well.
Well, that's the thing, though, is, Mike, you were just preaching why play anyone outside of this game.
I know.
And then now you're like, oh, let's go Jarrett Jack at 3,700 on FanDuel.
No,
Which lie are we supposed to believe, Michael?
No, you're right. That's a bit hypocritical. I think it's an interesting tournament play if Kyrie plays, because I don't think anyone's going to play him because of last game and with Kyrie being in, that you could get a low percentage guy that has still has a strong shot of hitting value if he plays 30-plus minutes and gives you a lot of cap relief elsewhere. And Steve Blake on FanDuel, if he plays a shooting guard, so you're not taking a spot away from him with Jack.
Yeah, I think one thing is important to know. Sometimes people aren't played anywhere because they don't want to play. I'm not saying that's the same in Jack's case, but sometimes people think the contrarian play, like, oh, it's going to be nobody has him. Well, sometimes no one has somebody for a very good reason, I'm not saying that's for Jack, but sometimes he's 0.03% owned, and you think that this play is going to vault you to the top when really he just does nothing. I think it's really important to distinguish play as a play in a deep to make actually the upside for your roster.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's a huge upside play. I just think he plays 30 minutes at 3,700. He hits value, and you've got a bunch of cap money to spend elsewhere.
Like on the Lakers and Philly. No, what I'm saying is that you
yep.
Like, it's just, it would be, yes, I said you want to think outside the box. So I think he would definitely be an outside the box play, albeit a risky one because of the fact that you have, you don't know what tonight's going to look like with Mike Brown. Like, you don't know if it's going to get back to how it was, or if Waiters are going to get more minutes, if Miles is going to get more minutes, if they're going to bring back Boobie Gibson and give him some play. Whatever happened to Boobie Gibson?
I don't know.
You guys don't know what happened to Boobie?
Let's hope that's not today's trivia.
Yeah, right.
The bottom line is, if you're playing Jarrett tonight, you don't know Jack. That is what.
Oh my God! Now I'm playing him no matter what.
Speaking of playing, we have the $5 NBA bracket game on draft day. Winner gets a FIT shirt, also $50, which is not bad. And one of the entries will get a free Hardwood Classic game. So you see some of the people in there. You got Napster Man, Renee Miller, Soccer Dave, gosh, loaded. Buckeye 420, Davis Maddock, K Cannon. I learned in the draft yesterday that K Cannon's name is Kyle Cannon. So he's not from Kansas City, and it's not KC Annan. So the things that you learn during a draft day draft game with somebody.
You read it as KC Annan before?
Yeah, right. Who thought it was Casey Annan?
That didn't even cross my mind.
Oh, I didn't. Just other people did.
Oh.
Right, Leonum.
Leonem.
I know.
Leo Nem. So yeah, enter that. The good thing is that it's there's no shortage of games really until next Thursday. So with the 32-man bracket, we'll be able to run this bad boy all the way through without any short game slates. So fun. That is what I would say there. Let's go ahead and get on the rapid fire game with our sponsor DraftDay. And I'm just going to admit this week has been a tough week for me. It's been a real tough week for the DraftDay rapid fire. Scott's got me twice, and it probably happened because I was bragging so much, but
probably
that's what happens. That's what happens when you start bragging. Even when you unintentionally brag, that's what happens. So let's take a look at the rapid fire. DeMarcus Cousins versus Anthony Davis.
I'm going Cousins.
All right. You both are going Cousins?
Yes.
Man. I really want to go Anthony Davis, but I'll lean with you guys on this one. LaMarcus Aldridge versus Paul George.
This is a tough one.
Crazy, but I think I'm going to go Paul George tonight. I know LaMarcus Aldridge is definitely the smarter pick, but I think George is going to have a really nice game.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, Dink's rundown convinced me on George, and it's not a great matchup for Aldridge, so I'm going to go with George.
Well, cool. I'll go with LMA, and I'm sure Scott will love the fact that you guys fell for his booby twap. So, Ty Lawson versus Michael.
You probably fell for the trap.
No, you did.
You just fell for the trap, Dave. And he made
you did. The trap is the points per game. That's the trap.
No. The trap is no Lance Stevenson. I've got to play Paul George, who's been so incredible this season.
I think you're giving way too much credit to the draft day to the average draft day rapid fire player. I think the trap is you see 44 points per game to 38, and you go, well, this is easy.
Ding, ding, ding.
Trappy says what?
I don't even know what that means.
Yeah. Because you're trapped. Ty Lawson versus Michael Carter Williams.
I'm still going to go Lawson here.
I just want to flip a coin. I don't know.
I'm still going Lawson. He's been too consistent to take Carter Williams, just because of a good matchup.
I'm going to be the guy who takes him because of a good matchup. I'm going to go Carter Williams.
I'll go Lawson. And the good thing is, Mike, now you have both feet trapped, so you can't get trapped anymore. So it's a win for you now. Let's see. Spencer Hawes versus Andy Varejao.
Pause. Sound really confident.
Wasn't confident. It sounded really creepy. Hawes. Sounded like British.
How? Hawes.
I'll take Spencer Hawes over Anderson Varejao. Oh gosh, I'll do it too. That one's not a trap. Granger versus Amare.
Granger.
Yeah, Craig. Some minutes. I'm gonna roll with the minutes here.
When your eye hits the sky, that's Amare. I will go Granger though. But Amare's not a bad play.
We
Like
all agreed on the last two.
minimum salary on draft day. If this LA Philly game wasn't going on, for minimum salary he looked really good the other night. I would consider playing him. I just don't think you have to play him. Let's see. Young versus Vaj, which I'm guessing is Varejao.
Yeah, Thaddeus Young.
Yes.
Bad.
Yes, I would agree. We've had a lot of Kelly versus Granger. I'm going with Kelly on this, and it's not close for me.
It's close, but I'm going Kelly too.
I'll go Granger.
You'll go Granger?
I'm going to be contrarian.
Of
I don't
course.
know. I just don't like Kelly, but I guess I just think the minutes aren't as safe there as they might appear to be.
I just
Because
wish you would make up your mind.
Kamen got really bad foul trouble 2 games in a row. I like the minutes in the 1 through 3 spots, but I don't know if the minutes are quite as safe. I know he played 42 last game, but
one good thing is he's shooting though. Double-digit shots in each of his last 2.
Yeah, he's got to.
Right.
This Mo Williams being out, does that make you want to play anybody from Portland? I mean,
not even close.
if it was a good matchup,
Right.
it might boost, like Lillard's minutes a little bit, but
or McCollum, maybe.
Yeah, but I
No.
against I don't like you against Indiana. I don't see any reason to mess around.
Let's see, Paul George and Varejao, or Boogie and Collison.
Paul George and Varejao, I think.
Dave.
That's really hard. Who's Cleveland playing again? Oh, Washington. Yeah, I think you still have to go with the first one, but that's more of a cash game play. If I'm throwing that in a GPP or a qualifier, I'm going with the second one. Collison's been struggling lately, though. No, go with the first one.
How brutal was it that STL got beat? STL Cardinals 84 got beat on Draft Street by a last-second Collison rebound. Like, the game was already decided. It was going to be like a split ticket, but still, that would have been a nice chunk of change. But not an errant, but just a last-second shot that didn't even matter, and Collison got the rebound, and he missed out. That was a brutal beat.
Yeah,
That was a tough beat. That I was gonna win the one day. I remember, like the first ever FanDuel Slam. I was gonna win. It was a short slate day, so it wasn't like a huge win. And then they left Lawson in, even though the game was out of hand, and he scored all these points, and then finally got a rebound with 4 seconds left off, a useless shot. So I can commiserate with him, although his was worse because the prize was way better.
Yeah, and that's what we were talking about on Wednesday, is that Lawson does play even in blowouts, which is interesting. Someone was asking about Ibaka. I just don't think you have to, but we haven't talked about Kevin Durant, and then also DeMar DeRozan as a solid play. He, I guess they put he had 14 steals today in the article, which is actually 1.4.
Yes.
Kevin Durant, though, and Ibaka, and even Jackson, who had a nice game on Wednesday, real nice game, as well as Brian Roberts. It seems like those backup point guards had really nice games on Wednesday. But this Thunder team, are you okay with rostering Durant tonight?
No.
If you go with all those cheapies?
No.
I'm okay with it. I don't know if it's something I'm going to do. I don't think it's optimal, but
what's the point?
To win?
Yeah.
I think he's got to, even as expensive as he is, he can still hit value. So if you get a bunch of cheap guys way exceeding value from like the Lakers Philly game, you could make a case for it.
I just don't see. I don't see how it's worth it tonight when we have so many other guys that are cheaper than him, that have better matchups. Better matchups in the sense of it's going to be tight game.
I'd rather go
It's more that
cheaper.
at some point, you have to spend.
Yeah.
And
Well, what do you mean?
I'd rather go
Durant?
cheaper on the other spots and go Durant over Paul George, I think.
But why? When you could get the same production from Griffin or Melo or something.
But then the point is, because then you're coming off one of your cheap value guys that's going to way exceed value anyways. I mean, it's just a roster construction thing.
Yeah, it's just roster construction. I
don't think I'm going to do it, but I think you could make a case for it.
Okay, Mike, quit hedging. Okay, quit hedging. Get off the fence. What I'm saying is that with like cash games, I think it's a good strategy. A week ago, we were saying that like it was impossible to fade Durant, and now it's like, well, I don't think you have to pay for him. Like we haven't even talked about him, so that's why I think that he is capable of putting up big numbers. And I'd rather go cheaper and spend on him than to spend anything on Paul George.
Well, hold on a minute, Dave. The whole reason he was unfadable last week and a couple weeks ago is because every single game was 60-plus fantasy points. And I don't know. I personally think he's getting a little bit burnt out, and he's going to need this all-star break more than anybody else in the league. On DraftKings, over his last 4 games, 42 fantasy points, 40 fantasy points. Then he had a 55, but then he had a 49. He's been under 50 fantasy points 4 of his last 5 games, where he didn't score under 50. He didn't score under that for like 10 straight, putting up monster numbers. And now he's scored 26 points exactly in 3 of his last 4 games. He doesn't have double-digit rebounds in any of them, and he has 1 steal or less in all of them, and only 1 block combined. He's still playing well. He's still putting up solid games, but you're talking about 23-24% of your entire cap. So that's just where I don't see the point against an Orlando team that could easily be done by the halftime or the third quarter. And when you look at it, a lot of those games, they've been blowouts, and that's why Brooklyn. That's why he didn't play. Just a lot of games, his minutes are down, and he hasn't needed to produce like he has. He might play 37 minutes tonight, but he might not need to produce that much. He might not need to do as much.
Only 20% of the salary cap on draft day in a position that you could roster him and feel good, and then go value at like all the other positions.
Wait, we're speaking just draft day here?
No.
I thought we were speaking.
No, I mean we're speaking around the industry. You said everywhere is 24 to 25%. I'm just telling you that's not the case.
Most places.
Okay. Well, on what's he on Draft Street?
Draft Street, he's 22, and you can.
That's
fit him in
22%
really
then. I really feel like Dave was purposely inflating his percentage by 2 to 3%.
I'm not. I don't. All right, fellas. All right.
I see both sides. I don't think. I don't know. Kitchen will make fun of me for hedging, but I think it's just personal preference. My personal preference is not to play him. I don't usually spend that much money on one guy, but I think you could make a case that he's going to hit value, and since there's so many cheap plays that are going to exceed value, you're not costing yourself too much by getting him in.
He's 23% on DraftKings, and
right, but it's not so much the percentage. It's if you look at his value threshold and his chance of hitting it, I don't think it's unreasonable he hits it. And then if you try and create a lineup around him, it's not hard to do tonight.
No, it's not that hard to do. I get it. I mean,
I don't think it's optimal, but I could see it in a cash game.
Yeah, for a cash game, I think because his floor is still pretty high. So that's where I am on that. Let's go to the lightning round, and then we'll wrap this puppy up. Lawson, Melo, or Wall and Uni. I'm guessing that's Unibrow. Lawson and Melo, or Wall and Uni. I think we're going Lawson and Melo on that, right?
I don't know.
I'm gonna go Wait, Wall and Davis?
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
I think I like Wall and Davis too, as much as I like Melo.
You guys have been talking about just play Melo. Just play Melo.
Yeah, but
Right,
I like John Wall a lot.
Well, you got
tonight,
Wall's got to be way greater than Lawson tonight, don't you think?
With the
I
blowout
think so.
factor, the second highest over-under in the Denver game, I don't think it's that big of a difference.
Maybe not, but I saw what the Lakers guards were able to do against Cleveland, and he
Yeah,
had
and
20 assists tonight.
Cleveland's terrible against.
well,
point
and the
guards.
Lakers had no choice but to play their people up 30.
Yeah, but Blake had like 11 assists in a quarter. I mean,
Okay, well, you guys want to do a bet? Lawson and Melo versus Wall and Uni?
Yeah, you should be doing that.
I don't know what you just said, but I can't have enough bets.
Okay, let's do it.
you never paid up on my James Harden bet earlier in the season, so
What was it?
whatever. We had a value bet involving James Harden. It was the week we had Laffy write down a bunch of bets, and
I never wrote them down.
we conveniently never went back to those. Might have
That's
to do with
right.
the person who runs
That's
this
right.
show.
Okay.
That is right.
30 seconds of karaoke to the loser. Either a solo
Okay.
or a duo.
All right, you guys got it. I'll be the judge.
No,
right.
no, you're in this with Mike.
Okay, fine.
All right, fine. Make sure someone writes this down because I really want to see them perform. Ellis tonight with a good matchup, sure. Hawes or Amare, I think it's Hawes. Hawes versus Vergel on DS with efficiency. Mike, I'll let you take that one.
Hawes.
I agree. Let's see. Livingston on FanDuel. I just don't think you have to. Only reason I would take Livingston is if Darren Williams is out. Griffin and Thad or Mello and Sully.
Definitely the first one.
Okay, we're just making sure because you guys have liked to go against what
We
you've
love
said earlier in the
Mello, but
night.
people keep putting them in bad combos.
Right.
Stoudemire or Bennett. Ugh, if you're having to go one, you definitely want to go Stoudemire.
Yeah, don't take Bennett. That was just a weird game last time.
Yeah, don't do it. Let's see. Fade Wall, play Bill. Just have the Bills' minutes are capped, but I mean, I could certainly see a situation where Bill outscores
He's been
Wall
playing
tonight.
like 34 though recently. So
Yeah, I could see a
this
situation where Bill outplays Wall tonight. I can. Blatch and Sacre or Vergel and Amare. I would go Blatch and Sacre. I think that's where, if for a GPP, that's where I would want to go. Because Amare's minutes are going to be limited.
For GPP, I could see that. For a tournament, I would find a better combo.
What?
He's saying he wouldn't use either of them.
Oh. I thought you were saying if you want to play a GPP, yes. If you want to play a tournament, no. Shims3 says, do I get to pick the song? Yeah, we'll have some sort of like where people can...
Love Me Sexy.
Yeah.
Just got dunked on. I'll do that one.
We have... I'll tweet out later. We only have 5 spots left for the bracket contest. So if you want to get a chance to win a shirt and $50 to first place, and one of the entries will get a entry to tonight's Hardwood Classic there on our sponsor DraftDay. $25,000. Top prize is, was it $3,000 tonight? This is top prize.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
$3,000. And then it actually goes down pretty nicely. Like second place is $2,500, third is $2,000. So
Yeah, these are the games like I get it why the big score was called the big score, because the big score is obviously 50 out of the 150,000 on Wednesday. But as far as games where you can enter a lot of teams or even a few teams or one team and feel good about it, these are the type of tournaments that like you can still build up bankroll. Don't feel like you're wasting your time. So, just had two people sign up. So if you want to get in this bracket game, make sure you get in there now. Thanks to Dave Lochran and Mike Leone. Dave writes again for the Insider's article on fantasyinsiders.com. And then Mike writes with Drew Dinkmeyer on the Daily Fantasy Rundown. So, guys, appreciate you being on, and tonight, just make sure that you don't get dunked on.
It's catchy, dude.
All right, guys. We'll catch you later. Make sure you fill up that bracket, and then I'll tweet the results from my Soccer Dave account. Peace.
Beautiful.